Tennessee UTSA, I think that's a interesting starting point because when I look at this game, obviously want to see how Tennessee responds, right? Now, I looked yesterday, Chris, and I don't know what Frank Harris's injury status is. I haven't seen any update on it. He obviously didn't play last week. And so was it turf toe injury?
It's turf toe.
Yep.
Turf toe.
And that would be big. He's a seventh-year player who has thrown for over 10,000 yards, and he is the backbone of that team. And without him, they lost to Army last week.
Yeah. So I don't think that's ideal. And I know Army's not they run a different system, but I think the problem I have with UTSA keeping up here is, for starters, if Frank Harris doesn't play, I think Tennessee's defensive front will be out with a vengeance in this game with something to prove. And so I don't think that will help it for Eddie Lee Marburger, the backup. I don't think that's going to be a good setup to have Tennessee's front angry. But the thing is, too, it's like if Army did what they did against UTSA, different scheme. I mean, Tennessee, I continue to say Tennessee's strength is their running game. You've got the two guys that can go over 100 and whatever yards at any time in Wright and Small. We've seen Sampson play a role too. But, yeah, this is one of those games where I think it's just something else, Chris. I'm gonna bring this up real quick because I think this is a very important stat. I don't know if you know it necessarily, but if you look at Tennessee, I did the numbers on this yesterday. Tennessee, what they've done after they've lost a game under Josh Heupel. If my computer would ever load, I could tell you exactly what the stat is. So we're going to just continue to stall here on this. But
while yours is, I'll give you some numbers that I've got in front of me. And the spread may be dated by a couple of days now. I don't know how much that has or hasn't changed. It seems to have built in a potential Harris absence. Vegas had it at 20 with the 56.5 point over under. That makes for a predicted final of 38-18. Tennessee's favor. FP Plus has Tennessee by 17. FPI has Tennessee by 17. SP Plus has Tennessee by 21, and Sagarin has Tennessee by 15. Blake, if you found your stuff, go right ahead.
I found my stuff. It is so Tennessee's lost 8 games again heading into this season. So in Heupel's first 2 seasons, right? It was one of them was a bowl loss to Purdue, so we're not going to count that. But here's what they did after each of those losses. And remember, opponent's important here too. But this isn't knocking UTSA, but you'll see kind of the opponent list has not been the best. But after each loss, they beat Tennessee Tech 56-0. They beat Missouri 62-24. They lost Alabama 52-24. That's the only loss in that group after coming off a loss. I think they lost 2 straight. Ole Miss, Alabama, I think it was. 60-14 against South Alabama. 66-24 win against Missouri. 56-0 win against Vanderbilt last year coming off that loss to South Carolina. So 5-1 record in those 6 games, averaging 54 points per game. So his teams have bounced back really well. Now, again, it's not like they're turning around and playing Alabama or Georgia or someone like that. But I think at least he has proven that when they bounce back pretty big, and they put up a lot of points. Now, can they do that here? I think there's certainly the potential if Harris doesn't play. So,
Gavin, I hate to bring up bad memories, but you do have insight here. You guys got them after one of those games a year ago. Was that one of those where you're warming up on the field and you can just tell they came to play that day?
Well, I think that like in any game, especially for when you lose a game like that, where early in the year, where I know obviously Tennessee had huge aspirations, especially after what happened last year. I mean, like I keep saying, it was a magical year for Tennessee. I think a lot of Vol fans hope that's the standard moving forward. But yeah, anytime you lose a game early in the year when you're, a rivalry game, when your season high expectations are through the roof, you got to get back on track. And, I think last year as well, when they lost that South Carolina game, they were just looking to get back on track. And, I think that's the key for Tennessee this weekend. UTSA comes to town. Look, they're 1-2. They're also back-to-back Conference USA champions. So, this isn't some, rollover game. You actually really got to prepare and understand what's going on this week. Otherwise, they might get you, especially if Frank Harris plays. I don't think he will. Yeah. I've seen the I believe I saw the lines moved about 3 points, which in favor of Tennessee, which tells me that they know something we don't. But they got to get back on track. What I want to see is kind of what Blake said. I want to see the defensive line dominate. They got a little revenge game, and they need it. I want to see the offense in sync. I need to see Milton connecting better with his receivers, connecting better with Heupel. It's kind of the same thing I brought up yesterday with, when you have a really, really good offensive head coach who is Josh Heupel. I brought this up yesterday with Lane Kiffin and Matt Corral and now Jackson Dart. When those guys are on the same page, the head coach, the offensive coach with the quarterback, it just flows and you can feel it as a player. And they need to get that. They need to get that back in sync. And I think this is a great opportunity. You got a home game against UTSA awaiting. The big one after the next week is a 6:00 kick against South Carolina, which is going to be
revenge game.
And they need this one. They need to get back in sync before they're ready for that big game against South Carolina that they know they all want to just beat the brakes off of Beamer and the Gamecocks. Yeah. So just got to get back on track. But to answer your question, long-winded, but this is a perfect game to get back in sync. They're out of sync. That Florida game, they were just out of whack, and they need to get back and hitting on all cylinders.
I think I'd be more worried for Tennessee if they won last week by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But I think that if that doesn't get your attention, I don't know what I'd be worried about the look ahead to South Carolina because of what happened last year. But the fact is, because of how that game played out last week, I think it all sets up really well in Tennessee's favor to come out and really try to prove a point here. We'll see.
Gavin, turf toe, I believe, is the injury to Frank Harris. Was that ever one that you had?
Yeah. So the thing about turf toe is you get it at least once in your career. Everyone does. You're stuffing your foot in a cleat for every day for 7 months. It's just going to happen. Probably more than 7 months, to be honest with you. Basically, what happens is the ligament that connects not to get all doctor on you guys, sorry, but the ligament that connects your toe to the rest of your foot from just flexing it over and over again, it just gets inflamed and it hurts you. The only thing is there's so many stages of it. If you can have like a grade 2 and it bother you for 2 days and then you never feel it again. I've seen guys have like grade 5s and they can't walk on it to class. And so it's completely different stages of it. I assume if it's holding this, this quarterback out of these games that it's pretty significant, but it's probably one of the most common injuries besides, tweaking your hamstring or sprained ankle that you see in college football. And sadly, literally the only thing that heals it is not putting that foot in a flex position, which means, you can't play. So.
Yeah, UTSA started last season, I think 1-2 also, won Conference USA. They're saying Jeff Traylor, their coach, is saying they're not going to play him unless he's 100%. In anybody's guess. But look, this offense on the whole, with him and without him, and I'm sure the splits are much different, but UTSA getting 5.1 per rushing play. Tennessee's been pretty decent against the run, 4.1 allowed. Only 5.7 yards per passing play. That is not good in this day and age of college football. And the Vols only giving up 4.5. So the pass defense has been really good. UTSA turning it over about 2.5% of the time. Can't do that against Tennessee. I look to the other side of the matchup. UTSA has been pretty good against the run, 3.6 a run play. Tennessee averaging 5.7. We mentioned before, Tennessee's got several backs. Tennessee only averaging 6.8 yards per pass play, which I think that number was over 9 a year ago. UTSA giving up 6.2. Here's the problem, though. UTSA is not forced a turnover yet, unless I got my numbers wrong. And you're going to have to do that against Tennessee. Guys, I'm just not I'm not very bullish on UTSA coming in here and pulling an upset. I just don't see reason to.
No, I got Tennessee big. That's all I got. I think Tennessee bounces back big, as history has proven they will. So